A beautifully designed interior is totally wasted with lighting that is unflattering. Thankfully, lighting experts exist beyond the realms of photography and cinema. Spaces like Bella's Artes Outpost requires a special kind of light design, and the man behind its interiors made sure the space is the perfect canvas to showcase art pieces. Okay, Mark, I would love to get to know you more and about what you do. So explain to us first, what exactly do you do?
Well, I'm a lighting and interior designer. My firm is called Wilson Escalona, so I have an architect partner named Nikki Escalona, and I'm Mark Wilson.
Okay, and you started this how long ago?
We started 5 years ago in Manila.
In Manila, but before that, prior, you studied art.
Yes, I met Nikki in New York at Parsons. We were doing a master's in fine arts lighting design. So I'd never met her, and she was Filipina, and we got along so well that we formed a firm.
And were you always into design as a young boy when you were living here?
Always into design, always into art and craft, photography, even as a child. It was my favorite thing to do.
Do you have like an anecdote that you can share when you were a child?
I remember the day I got my first camera. I was 13, and it was Christmas Day. And I took it to my Lola's house, and which is a beautiful Art Deco house. And I did a lot of photography of the house and the details of the house. So really it was architecture and photography.
His early interest in photography trained his eye to see light and how it relates to space.
My introduction to photography was black and white. And when you do black and white, it's always about form, silhouette, contrast. And contrast is light. And then because I conceive in a spatial way, light really, from natural light was always very important to me.
In a space, in a room, what would you say is important to think about?
As a designer, you want everyone using that space to have a unique sense of place. And of course, it has to work from a functional point of view. But my firm is in the business of creating kind of high-style interiors, homes, lobbies of hotels. So it's a sense of place that's important.
It's important.
Yeah.
How do you use light to give you that sense of place?
You use artificial light to balance out areas where natural light isn't present in an interior. So often in a modern building, you'll have a deep volume with natural light on one side. How do you make that room feel balanced and pleasant is always a design question.
Mark shared some tips as well on how we can achieve good lighting in our homes. Nowadays, more and more people are living in condos in smaller spaces with very little natural light. Do you have any tips for that, perhaps?
Yes, even in offices, it's the trend. You want to shade down south and west. When you're designing, you orient the house, open the house to north, close down west through various means, and use energy efficient lights such as LED when you go into the interior. You have to remember with lighting, there's light that goes through a diffuse surface, or there's a direct encounter with the source, such as candlelight, or a filament Edison bulb on a dim setting.
That's so beautiful, right?
It is. The cardinal sin is glare, which is the light source revealed at a high intensity. So even an Edison bulb that's very bright is a glare situation.
Mark gave us a tour of Bella's Artes Outpost and showed us the latest lighting technology fit for this type of space. So how did you have to design for a gallery?
Right, well, first of all, it's actually a warehouse. So we had to put a lot of insulation into the ceiling. Because it became an art space, we had to think about sound and heat. So the roof design was important. We definitely wanted to keep the pitch for the volume, keep a very flexible space. What is, I think, quite unique in this gallery is the lighting system that we used. It's probably the most sophisticated lighting system in any of Manila's galleries.
Really?
Yes, it's an Austrian brand called Zoomtobel. So the cables allow us to bring it up and down.
Oh wow.
Correct. You can go as low as here, as high as flush to the ceiling. It's a track system.
So you can move them around.
And it's a double track. so that I could actually put the same lights that I have on the bottom part of the track on the top and light the ceiling
that's amazing.
as well.
One of the things I realized, I had the same exact artwork in my old house, my new house, but this time I installed proper lights for them. And all of a sudden, all my friends are like, this is so beautiful, I've never seen this before. Well, I'm like, it's always been there.
Correct.
So lights are very important. And what do you need to look for?
Well, in art lighting, you look for a bulb with color rendering index.
Okay.
Yeah, CRI, it's a percent measured from 1 to 100.
Yeah.
And the good quality LEDs give you up to 95, 98%. The sun gives you 100.
Yes.
Fluorescent gives you 75.
Oh, no wonder we look awful under fluorescent lighting. We look 75% of ourselves.
Right, you look blue.
Yes,
right.
awful. Bellas Artes Outpost is the satellite space of the Bellas Artes Projects, a non-profit group which is based in Las Casas Filipinas de Acuzar in Bagac, Bataan. The foundation supports artists and artisans, and this space serves as their platform. Their history and locale heavily influenced Mark as he designed the interiors of the gallery. So tell us about this space. You said this is one of your favorite spaces here.
Correct. So we're the entrance to the Bellas Artes Outpost gallery, and it's maybe 1.8 meters wide. It's a tight space, and I wanted it to feel even tighter.
Okay.
So you feel like you're pushed up through a kind of
like
birth
this.
canal
Okay.
into the gallery. So we decided to keep it gray, and Bellas Artes Foundation, through their workshops in Bataan, make these tiles. So this is, in Tagalog, that would be called granulitic,
Okay.
or in Italian terrazzo.
Yeah.
It's cement with an aggregate. This is kind of like a white Romblon marble aggregate. And we kept it to an uncolored gray cement for a kind of industrial feel, because we are in a warehouse,
Yes, of course.
after all. And I conceived of this push-pull, where this thickness and a receding and a pushing forward, because...
Yeah, I like the relief, right?
Correct. There's a kind of a sense of movement as you walk through it, even though it's subtle. But everyone comments on it and notices it and thinks it's unusual. And when you go to the property in Bataan of Las Casas de Acuzar, you have a view of the nuclear power plant. You have the very powerful surf, where you drown in if you swim out too
my
far.
gosh.
Let's not do
that.
the nature forces feel like they're bigger than you.
Yeah.
So this is referring to that.
That surreal force of nature.
That strength.
You're surrendering to it.
Correct. And this is that push-pull. These are the waves. This is the power plant. This is the force of nature.
Oh, interesting. And I like
Yeah.
the shape. So I pointed out earlier, it's an unusual hexagonal shape, right?
Yeah.
Almost Byzantine-ish.
Well,
reminds
Jam
me
and
of
I were
those.
really trying to think of a shape that would represent what the gallery is trying to do, and it is an out-of-the-box concept.
Yeah.
And the hexagon has that freeing, that more free shape. There's no right angles.
Aside from regular exhibits, the space serves as a convergence point for artists and art enthusiasts and art patrons. So Mark, this is the library space, right? Yeah?
Correct. The reading room.
The reading room. So tell me a little bit more about the space and how you guys conceived it.
Yeah, Jam, the client,
Yeah.
conceived of it as a place for research, for conversation, for meeting with artists to give talks. This is projection onto that wall, and then gathering with flexible seating. So, but also it had to feel like an art room. Okay, so the floor is the topographical map. It's my concept, it's my artwork, using cement tile that is made by the workshops of Las Casas Filipinas de Acuzar. It is the topographical map of the client's property in Bataan.
Wonderful.
So the ravines and the mountains. The tables take off from the hexagonal tile and just raise up.
Great.
Mr. Acuzar is a lover of Filipino furniture, so the two sofas are part of a series of Batangas furniture called Batangas Uno. That's a riff on that. The tables are my design.
So these tables are your design as well?
Correct. They're an old door that was repurposed into a table.
Oh, I like this.
Yes.
You hardly get large pieces of wood like this anymore.
Correct.
It's solid. I mean, even the doors nowadays, they're like two pieces of bitter wood put together, right?
Correct.
This is wonderful.
And bleached.
And
All
of
the
course-
books We put on a kind of a red cinnabar bookshelf. We chose that color because it worked with the floor. It was about, you know, metabolism and hunger and for knowledge. So we're trying to go for a residential feel that will encourage conversation.
Wonderful.
That was the idea.
Up next, Mark shines a light on another passion of his, creating wearable art.